Hello and a very warm welcome to WazirX and CNBC TV 18 present this special webinar where we talk about the strategies and expectations that the rest of 2021 perhaps has from cryptocurrencies. Remember the last 1 year, the major headlines and the buzz really came in from cryptocurrencies and blockchain. A lot of people onboarded the new technology and a lot of people started investing in this as well. So what are the strategies? How do you tackle the market volatility? How do you research is something that we will now talk about in this webinar. Joining us on board is Mr. Abhinav Venkat. He's Associate Director Product at WazirX. We also have with us Mr. Prasanna Lohar. He's Head Innovation and Technical Architecture at DCB Bank. Gentlemen, hi. Thank you so much for joining us. Prasanna, let me start with you. And what a year it has been where we've seen more and more people get excited about cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of buying, participation, volumes going up. The cryptocurrencies itself stand at a 10,000 plus kind of a number as in sense of cryptocurrencies available. How have you seen the previous year go by?
Yeah, I think thank you so much for inviting me for this great session. And as you rightly said, right, so there is always a buzz around cryptocurrency. If you look at social media, if you look at media, even if you have seen recent IPL campaigns, I think most of those campaigns were around the cryptocurrencies, how to really utilize, how cryptocurrencies are better one of those options for your digital assets or for your investment asset. I think the time is good, and if you really look at the technology behind crypto blockchain, right, which says that the crypto cannot be hacked, and they are more secure, and that those are giving some another challenge to the existing ecosystem or existing financial ecosystem. Yes, we are also there, and it can be utilized in a better way. There are up and downs, there are regulatory angles, there are many more angles, but in a nutshell, in the next 5 years, I think I can see that cryptocurrency will become another kind of a financial instrument wherein people would invest easily, efficiently with many more platforms which we have in India, outside of India. So that's the traction I can see. The way the momentum is happening, a lot of investments are happening. Many people are looking at in a positive way, and even a country like India also looking at it is a better way. Like they can treat it as a crypto asset, or maybe some other kind of a regulation will come. But with the right regulation, it will give a lot of incentives for normal Indians or normal citizens to be part of this whole ecosystem. Yeah.
Abhinav, this one is to you. So while there are very many first movers in case of cryptocurrency, some people are just about watching it from sidelines, waiting for regulatory clarity or trying to understand on what cryptocurrency or coin does work better for them. But when we talk about strategy, I mean, is there a good strategy, a bad strategy? And how does one create a strategy when they want to invest or start trading with the cryptocurrencies?
Sure. So I'll start off by saying, thanks a lot for having me on your show. In particular to that question, and I think this is a question that, a lot of people, we keep hearing this particular question, how do I go about getting started? What are the main things that, I would want or I should keep in track? So in terms of that, I don't think it's that much different from, any traditional investment that you'd make in terms of a strategy. You've got three fundamental factors, right? What kind of, how risk averse are you, right? What kind of risk tolerance do you have? Especially in cryptocurrency, sometimes if you don't go in with that right idea of what your risk averseness is, you find yourself sometimes going down a particular path, and then you see, especially in crypto, volatility is in the range of 30, 40, sometimes even 50% is fairly normal, right? So we see a lot of people going down this path thinking, hey, I'm ready to ride this all the way through, and then the second they see this immense volatility hit their portfolios, they then immediately panic and then register big losses, right? So I think that's why I always keep telling people, make sure you understand what is that risk profile that you're planning to get into before you actually get into. So there's that risk aversion. Then there's, of course, what kind of returns do you actually expect, right? Are you expecting 5%, 10%, or are you expecting 30, 40%, right? I think that'll also factor in largely into the ways you will interact with that crypto ecosystem. And then finally, again, this is also something that carries forward from other asset classes, but even more so in crypto, the actual amount of effort that you need to put in to actually follow through with that strategy, right? In crypto, there's this one angle which is it makes it what we call as, it's so far kind of been reserved for the technically kind of elite, as we'd call them, because it requires a fair amount of technology savviness. So I think what we find is a lot of people kind of underestimate the amount of tech savvy and the effort that you need to put in for a particular strategy, right? If you're going to be doing day trading or scalping, you really need to be able to be able to detect and devote that time to that. And so I think largely, yeah, I think if as an investor you can make sure you put all these three things and you stick to it, I think you should be able to come out with a fairly good strategy on how you want to proceed with the market.
Well, clearly, when you talk about cryptocurrencies, it is called a high risk, high return market. I mean, it has been put in that category already. And as Avinav was saying, 20-30% of a move on a cryptocurrencies is quite given. And some of the cryptocurrencies actually have given even more volatility than that. Prasanna, this question is to you. So when you choose a coin, I mean, if there was a beginner and if there was a strategy to be made, I do understand that the safest and the first one to pick perhaps is a Bitcoin. But how would you differentiate in a portfolio space for a Bitcoin, an altcoin, a stable coin, even a meme coin for that matter, because that clearly has created fortunes for many people.
Yeah, I think very well said that it's straightforward, right? If you look at Bitcoin and the magic of Bitcoin, which we have seen last 3-4 years, people would look at the cryptocurrency as a Bitcoin itself, or maximally Ethereum and the most of the other. But recently, the way people are looking at it and the way I look at it, right? So as an individual, I need to see how much I can invest with. Is it like I can invest 10% or 2, 3, 4%? The expert says that it should not be more than 2 to 5%. Okay, based upon your pocket size and risk appetite of every individual. That's how it can go for, right? And don't go just like a fancy everybody's investing. I think we have seen this. The way I have interviewed many of those people from the film industry or millennials, they just go ahead and they just invest the way they want, right? I think as an individual you need to study in which cryptocurrencies you want to invest based upon your pocket size. You should have a diversified portfolio. You should look at which are those payment tokens or utility tokens or mainstream tokens like mainstream like bitcoins or ethereum, and based upon that you can have a diversified investment portfolio. For that, I think to begin with, understand there are various websites which gives a trend, right? How every cryptocurrency going up and down, and there are a lot of. I think what we have seen, social media is the biggest influencer, or rather, media is the biggest influence for a speculation of those cryptocurrencies. So you have to use your own intellectual brain and decide which are those. I think there are some upcoming cryptos, right? So they those are also quite. Those also can give a better incentives because they have some kind of a utility behind, right? So I think look at how much you can invest out of your all the investment appetite, and you should have a diversified portfolio to reduce your magnitude of loss, and as well as join a lot of there are a lot of communities like crypto communities which you can give a lot of insights around what's going on. There are a lot of realistic news you can hear and you can decide. And for every crypto, it has its own technical architecture, technical protocols, how they are going. Say example, Bitcoin is being forked by multiple times, right? Still people want to invest into that, right? But there are new things which are coming up, right? Wherein you can see the architecture, who are all the founders, who are the those promoters for this crypto, and see get into that kind of investment. I think before getting to actual as a individually, I got a feel of a industry, right? It took a lot of time for me to actually get into the kind of investment to look at it. So if you consider these 4 or 5 factors, and once you are into the game, then you can always understand whether to do a day crypto or wait for in the evening or wait for. There are quite a lot of mechanisms, right? To look at or assess the whole graphs, the way they are going up and down. That's how you can learn slowly get into this crypto. Because another caution, it's a volatile, it's a skeptical, and it can go up and down. So final line, it has a lot of better use cases, but considering trading, it's all your own appetite, your own intelligence, your own risk factor, how much you can take it. There are a lot of softwares available which can always helpful. That's how I look at this whole game, the crypto industry, the way it is moving on. But it's a good thing. At least out of your 100%, 2 to 4, 5% based upon your appetite, you should certainly get involved and get experience of this whole industry. Out of like sometimes you may feel that fear of missing out, right? So so at the same time, look at, are you getting into that habit, or are you getting into that? But look at how you are doing better into stock markets or any of the other investments. Keep the same momentum at least now, because if you see the overall adoption of the world, only 120 to 130, 40 million people are out of the 7.8 billion people are doing crypto, right? There is a lot to do, right? There is a lot to do. And while we do want to do a lot to do, there will be a lot of innovations will come in for apps. Exchanges will come up with a lot of security guidelines, awareness. That will give a lot of momentum for investment in right and better direction.
Oh, absolutely. So depending on your risk appetite is how you should be onboarding this. But it's interesting, Prasanna, because the conversation clearly has moved on from whether or not to buy on how much to hold in your portfolio and which cryptocurrencies are better. So that is something that we clearly have achieved in last 1 year. Abhinav, this question is to you. As Prasanna said, you don't want to be FOMO'd out. I mean, that is one reason a lot of people seem to be really onboarding this. What would you advise them?
I think the FOMO, as much as I say it, it is definitely there. I think that's predominantly why what I see most investors hopping in, especially even in the last week or so. There have been some coins such as Shiba, I think Dogecoin, these meme coins that we've seen that have had significantly good rallies, and you can clearly see the FOMO kind of virus that is spreading, right? But I think the one thing that people should understand in this sector is that I think every project has its time, and I think that's why I also see most people, including myself, have been witness to this kind of error, is that you see some other project making moves and then you FOMO and then you kind of drop your main strategy halfway through and then dive into some other project, right? And I've seen this happen a number of times, and I think this is one of the most biggest mistakes in crypto, right? Of course, there's always that notion that you cut your losses off once you're sure, but I think most people have this problem in the existing crypto environment where you kind of have butter or fast fingers, right? You're almost kind of itching to overtrade. So I think I see most people almost overtrading their positions, trying to continuously capture every single movement in the market. So I would definitely urge against that, and I would rather definitely take a more, of course, a more long-term approach based on fundamentals and other things rather than just FOMOing in based on social media or Twitter. Because I think in today's day and age, especially on like Twitter and social media, I think for every single project you will find a huge section that vouches for that project coming up with immense returns. So I think that's definitely not a trap that I would advise people to get caught in.
So since we are talking about risks here, Prasanna, every asset class and every investor who understands financial markets does make a short-term and a long-term strategy. In case of cryptocurrencies as well, do you think that is the most apt thing to do?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely right. Say example, some billionaire, right? They can always look at the short term as well as the long term strategies. If you look at the type of trading, the way it happens in the crypto industries, like a day trading or a swing trading, right? Day trading could give a lot of incentives at the end of a day, but it requires a lot of knowledge about various cryptos and various trends of the cryptos, right? So accordingly, you can really look at to do for a short term game, right? You can involve for therefore swing trading, wherein we can see the various up and downs graphs, and that's how you can involve. But in my view, if you look at the overall crypto industry since last 4 to 5 years, have some long term view, right? So you can park and may look at the how the trend is happening, and that's how we can see the investment to bitcoins and ethereum will give a lot of incentives for a long term view, right? At the same time, I think while you get into the investment, right, investors should give importance to the education before investing. They should understand what is meant by crypto, right? So what is meant by, there are a lot of news around, say example, Elon Musk is doing. Immediately everybody start investing into that out of FOMO, and automatically that valuation goes up, right? But for what utility, for what purpose? I think eventually next couple of years we will see, although there are mainstream bitcoins, right, or ethereums, but most of the investment will happen to those projects or to those cryptos where you will have some kind of output around that, right? So I think once again you can always invest into some of those mainstream crypto, but have some kind of a diversified kind of a investment into stable coins, some of the payment coins, and some of the, they are different, right? So you can but there are also pitfalls for a diversified. The output may not be the immediate, right, or output may not be the great. So I think it's again I stick to that whole thing, right? Timing is a key, right? On what time you are investing, and how much you're investing, and how you're exiting from one crypto or investing to another crypto. I think once you are into that game, you will eventually understand whether it is for long term game for you or whether it is a short term game for you. Come out. I have seen some examples. They got into 2017 and they never seen crypto back again, right? And or they, I have seen some example recently. They are into that and they are now want to be part of that whole thing, and they are more understanding and they are willing to be part of creating their own cryptos, right? So that's how is the whole traction which I can see. It depends upon individual to individual how they want to get into that. But I think education, awareness, or more or the less on which exchange they are doing it, how safe that exchange is all about. I think now there is a lot of awareness on that. So I think apart from these strategies, we also look at, right. So whether to invest as a stock company into any of the companies, what's the long term view? How this company is going to sustain? I think that kind of intelligence slowly is coming to customers also.
I absolutely take that point, Prasanna, because I was talking to a friend and he made me speak to a long drawn relative in Jalandhar. And that woman was trading on a platform which I hadn't heard about. So, well, absolutely. So, when you choose on what exchange, what platform you want to trade on, it's very important to know and research about that as well. But Abhinav, I want to come back to you and talk about since you have all the data right there. So you tell us when people are making their short-term and long-term strategies when it comes to cryptocurrencies, what is that churn like? I mean, would you say that 50%, it's a 50-50? Are more and more people holding their cryptocurrencies for a longer term?
Yeah, I think based on what we've seen, most of the investors in at least in India seem to be more of long-term traders, in the sense that they prefer buying something and then holding on for a long time. I think in the crypto terminology we call that hodling, right? So I'd say most of our users are hodlers, but of course saying that we do have a separate segment of users who are coming from traditional stock markets, who are more algo traders, HFT traders, momentum traders, and of course these guys, of course, far more active. So, but yeah, I think in general, I think what we are seeing is the average retail trader, who's between 18 to 30 odd, who maybe has not really made too many investments outside of crypto. Their primary, at least the way they invest, at least here at WazirX, is they seem to be more of people who want to make an investment and then hold on to it and then ride that through and see the returns. That is the kind of trend that we're seeing here, at least. Yeah.
So while we continue to keep talking about on how crypto should be perhaps 2 to 5% of your portfolio, Prasanna, you said that, but within that 2 to 5% of an exposure as well, how would you want tell one to diversify within that within cryptocurrencies? I mean, should you go for something that doesn't move so much? Because when you look at
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies, they move anywhere between 100% to 4,000% in matter of months. 8 to 9 months for that matter, and everybody wants to make financial goals are pretty much
Yes.
similar for everybody. You want to make money, so how do you treat that?
I think it all depends again. It. I think best practice to have a diversify, right? A diversified portfolio wherein you can see some of those store of a value asset like Bitcoin or something like a payments coin, like wherein you can see into Bitcoin Cash or Litecoins. So you have to decide, say, out of 100% of those investment, can it be 20% on Bitcoin and the rest of them, right? So there are some of those new, as you rightly said, though those get multifold, right? So maybe 5% to the 100% within the. So I think you should have a room for some of those tokens also. These days, a lot of news, right, around non-fungible tokens, right? So Cheels and there are many more, and new founders like we have heard some of those Bollywood industries also getting into. I think for initial for initial days, those will have a better value, and the time will decide whether they are going to sustainable or not sustainable. So you should have some time or some kind of a portion for those kind of thing. There are utility tokens like stable coins, or there are some private tokens like Monero, Dash. And if you keep on studying, like how influencer also influencing some of those tokens. So likewise, if you distribute your 100% into 20 20 20, likewise, and then you decide, like if you have more appetite for a mainstream Bitcoins and Ethereum, go ahead, like how much you want. Or if you're a long-term guy and you want to wait for some of them, we have seen, right, last 2 years, some of those new cryptocurrencies are part of a top 10 cryptocurrency. Like, so you have to wait and watch and look at. There are a lot of websites and there are some of the softwares also who can help you to do a better trading. I think that will help you to create, but there are advantages, disadvantages also for diversification, right? So you may miss out actual, say example, Bitcoin immediately getting the traction of a 20% gain, right? So you may miss out that. Why? Because you have invested 20% only in Bitcoin and rest of the things. So that's how you have to live with that whole stuff, right? So it's an wait and it's a patience. You require a lot of patience while you do normal trading. The similar things also adapt is has to be taken consideration. It requires some patience, it requires a lot of study, it requires some kind of a knowledge, awareness, and moreover, I think as we move further, it will be more intelligent, right? So I think there are some, as I read, let's say, there are some tools which helps you. Okay, at the end of the day, you invest into the three cryptos based upon these appetites, they will give you. You don't have to really study, right? But I think before getting into those tools, we should have some kind of your own intelligence. What is this all about? Yeah, so that's how it can be helpful. Diversification is good, but again, you have to keep on retouching that your diversification on a regularly basis and see whether that 20% can become 30% for any of your portfolio cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
So, just taking a leap out of that, and Abhinav, this one is to you. So, when we talk about cryptocurrencies, and as Prasanna said, this it's part risk taking, it's part discipline, is what I took out of that. You think it's imperative to make a balance there about your risk taking capabilities, your financial goals, and then discipline when you are trading within cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely. I think discipline is probably the most important. I think all of these things, if you come in with this mindset that I will just, it will endlessly keep going up, and I'll just wait till essentially you have no target. I think that's essentially the most dangerous starting point. So I think everybody should start with some kind of target in mind, and then kind of start formulating your strategy, right? So I think continuing from where Prasanna said, I think diversifying is absolutely needed. And just like in your equities or normal markets, where we traditionally make investments on sectors, right? You've got your auto, healthcare, railways, manufacturing, etc. So in crypto, you have these bunch of sectors that are fairly well developed now. So right, you've got. So if I was someone who was making investment, I would for sure diversify against things like layer one protocols such as like your Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then you've got DeFi solutions, and then you've got layer two scaling solutions, you've got oracles, you've got NFT projects, you've got play to earn, you've got all these metaverses. So I think there are so many subsectors within crypto, and if you look close enough, there are winners in all those subsectors. So I think the best course of action for someone who wants to cover the entire spectrum, you want to balance yourself, you want to cover all the edges, definitely I would encourage everybody to make kind of balanced investments, but with that understanding that each of these sectors also move at different paces, right? So clearly right now DeFi is an extremely hot sector. So you've got DeFi projects that are flying. I'm sure you've got NFT, non-fungible tokens, that is also flying. And then of course you have all these other subsectors which are more technically oriented. And I think that's where the technology gap also comes in. It's a great time to be in tech now to kind of understand these various subsectors and make plays within them. Yeah, so I think absolutely a combination of that discipline targets as well as a good diversification, covering the entire kind of ecosystem.
Absolutely. So, guys, there's no easy way out of here. You have to read, research, and understand where you're trading and what you're trading into. Prasanna, this one is to you. When we talk about various asset classes, and both of you have given me examples on equity markets. I mean, that clearly is the oldest market, and we keep taking in cues from that. But every market, whether it's equities or currencies or commodities for that matter, even real estate for that matter, has its bull cycle and its bear cycles. Are we looking at a similar pattern when you're looking at cryptocurrency?
I think crypto is something new. If you compare real estate or compare overall stock industry, crypto is something new, and it has its own gamut, or it has its own understanding. I think uh, we have seen like crypto was not existing in a better way in maybe 5 to 6 years before. While we had a first transaction on Bitcoin 2010 start, and now Ethereum's, and we see a lot of cryptos are coming. As our friend has rightly suggested, there are a lot of new projects like NFTs, DeFi's, which has a real value, right, around financial inclusion, or to why we come up with the crypto, right? That's how we have to look at it, right? Bitcoin came into the world, right? With the study, Satoshi Nakamoto came up with that paper with the inclination that we should have a better financial inclusion for everybody on this world, right? But what we have seen, apart from financial inclusion, there are many more things are coming up, right? So that's how we look at it, how we really go ahead. Real estate had its own value. You get a shelter and you get a value for that, right? And based upon geography, based upon standard of living, the way it is being constructed, value goes up and down. Similarly, type of companies, how they are investing into many other projects, that gives some kind of intelligence. For a crypto, again it's a speculation. Most of the crypto which are in mainstream, except Ethereum, has a lot of projects. But if you look at Bitcoin, there are a lot of projects, but actual value or asset class behind that, we still need to have a lot of clarity on that, right? So I think it's a new thing. As far as the crypto is concerned, it will take some time to, once the regulation comes for every country, I think it will give lot of new things to do, investment to do your will have a better financial instruments apart from your FDs or mutual funds. I think that's how I can see that. But when a regulation comes, and at the same time there is a wave of DeFi's, and maybe tomorrow DeFi's get regulated, or maybe we come up with a central bank digital currency in every country, right? So that gives a challenge to the existing cryptocurrency industry, right? Are we gonna sustain? I think it's a mix and match. We'll have to see a balance between how crypto gonna prevail for a longer period, because there are more than 500 plus exchanges. So much investment has happened, right? But what is the real value for every citizen, just normal citizen, is that apart from crypto trading, earning something, what is that exactly value is coming now that those kind of projects are coming, right? So like NFTs or some kind of a DeFi kind project which are giving challenge to the parallelly to the banking ecosystem. So banking ecosystem is full of operational chaos, right? A lot of investment has happened, so much of things, and this technology comes and say I will really streamline, but efforts are quite less compared to the adoption of crypto. Utilizing crypto or blockchain technologies towards this right direction, I think we need, the way we have Ministry of Electronics and Telecommunication, we need some kind of emerging technologies kind of a hub, right? So RBI has come up with a RBI Innovation Hub. The primary agenda, how can they utilize a blockchain or a crypto kind of a technology? Say example, uh, cross-border payment, or say example CBDC, or say example, how can we have a decentralized KYC for all the banks coming together? So maybe tomorrow I will not be surprised if we have a solar coins or a milk coin, or say called as a wheat coin, right? Where in the back end the whole banking system prevails there, but it takes the incentive of the crypto or a blockchain technology. So I think these projects will drive how much to invest and so on. But I think we are in the beginning of crypto. If you see the adoption, it's a minuscule, right? And if you see the compare the stock or overall industry of a trillions of, and how it could be 2 to 3%, but that's a challenge, right? This 2 to 3% is created in last to 4 to 5 years. It can go 10%. Just imagine what things will happen, right? So I think that's how we should look at it. We should welcome in a better way, and with a better regulation, I could see huge things will happen in the real estate. Also, you can see tokenization of real estate, right? So I think apart from real estate, there will be more than 300 plus entities which will come on the marketplace, sharing economy, right? And whenever the sharing economy comes, we need a inherent trust, and this inherent trust can be built by technology, so-called blockchain, right? If you look at that direction also, I think you will get the right answer. How are we doing investment in this overall game? Yeah.
Now, I get your point. When it comes to technology, the governments, regulators, corporates, institutes are onboarding the technology. They are investing in this as well. But the retail clearly sees as of now the cryptocurrencies as a place where they can invest, believe in that technology, and also get some
Yes.
return on their investment. There is how it is being played. I mean, this one is to you. So that exactly is the point, isn't it? Because there are so many cryptocurrencies, each one with their own use case. There are scalabilities there, and there are new cryptocurrencies coming so often into the markets. So when we talk about it being in relation to other asset classes, when we talk about crypto arbitrage, how do you think that is going to work?
No, absolutely. I think just given the nature of how crypto markets work, it's not like there is a centralized stock exchange in every nation, and because of that you have these kind of isolated exchanges cropping up all around the world. That does lead to a lot of arbitrage. I mean, my take on arbitrage is, of course, it is a largely adopted strategy, but I think true arbitrage, and when I talk about retail traders, I don't think that's something that our general retail population should really look at immediately. I think if you're a sophisticated trader, and if you're an algo trader, bot trader, and you have that sophistication in both systems, tools, I think for sure, I think arbitrage it's a huge opportunity in crypto, with the right systems. So I think if you were to get into things like using bots and arbitrage, I would definitely say, because even in that ecosystem, there are several platforms to choose from. My 2 cents would be to for sure pick one which allows you, with immense
Yes.
features for backtesting your, hypotheses and etc. I think that I would leave it with that. But I think by a bulk, I think even without going into arbitrage, I think for retail investors, there's an ocean of opportunity. I think one of the things that, for me personally, when we look at traditional investments, you look at large companies, most of the good deals, they never come to a general, average layman, someone who's just trying to invest in the stock market. Those are usually, venture capital, private equity deals. I think what you now have in the crypto space is, again, it's not financial advice, but I think you have this option or this ability to invest in a project at various ranges, right? Whether that's in 0 to 10 million, or 10 million to 100 million, or something that is over $1 billion, or something that's even over $50 billion, right? Or $100 billion, something like Bitcoin. And I think that's that beauty in it. It provides that option for an average retail user, of course, with a great amount of risk. It comes when you invest early, but you do have that ability to go and make those investments at those very early stages, by tapping into crypto, and then, and kind of leveraging that ecosystem. And I think those are things that are really, great for a country like India. It really opens up not just the access to the investments, but for the founders itself, it provides a much larger base for, gaining that much necessary capital that you need, in growing these businesses. So yeah, I think there's an immense amount of opportunity there.
Sure is. This just came to me that, when we talk about futures and we talk about leveraged products, that's not available right now in cryptocurrencies, not in India, not anywhere else as well. But what you do get is you get a fractional ownership of that Bitcoin, which is what the markets really are dealing with right now. So, Prasanna, this one is for you then. As the markets are growing right now, what is your sense on what newer products could we see? What are the strategies that one should be looking for in cryptocurrency investments as of now?
Yeah, I think it's very thing you should know how the industry is moving ahead. You should be part of some of those communities who talks about crypto, gives the insight of the various cryptos. Mostly we have seen every crypto or new cryptos has their own communities. Be part of that, understand, see those, understand what is happening on social media. Social media is an influencer, and you have to use the social media or media wisely to get your intelligent things around that. There, I think. We spoke about cryptocurrency arbitrage, and there are some bots, right? So you can utilize some of those bots, so-called Trinity or Coin Rule, who are utilizing the services of many other exchanges. I think these bots can really helpful to really reduce your losses. It gives some kind of intelligence. It works 24/7. They can have a real-time analysis, provided how much latency or have these overall frameworks are utilizing, right? Uh, I think it's good to see the output of these bots and invest intellectually. There are different types of arbitrage, right? Special or three-dimensional. From one, buy another cryptocurrency within the same exchange and get into another. So I think that comes with a more and more understanding of the overall crypto kind of ecosystem. So ultimately, what I can suggest for every area of those investors who are new guys or who are already into this whole game, uh, uh, first thing, right? Investing could be for short term, long term, based upon your risk appetite. Secondly, investors should give importance to the education before investing into crypto. Understand the whole game, then get into. Understand if you are buying crypto, from which wallet, from which mechanism, how are you storing your keys, whether cold or hot wallet, or which are those exchanges you are dealing with. Research those exchanges, right? Then I said about, see how you are going to store your digital currency, right? Diversify your investment into multiple portfolios, and at the end, prepare for volatility, right? So market is not such a mature the way other type of industry trading industries, right? So prepare for volatility and that risk, right? And accordingly get into this game. But it's an opportunity. and we should be part of this, not because of FOMO, but the background technology, the overall thing. It gives a challenge the way we operated since so far, right, in the industry. And that's the game all about, right? So look at the advantages of the technology, right? So certainly it will give lot of momentum and the existing architectures or existing businesses or existing operations which we have built, and with the right use cases, I think it will give very good guideline for intelligent customers who are part of a current generation, right? Down the line 5 years, I think we'll have a multiple different business models around that. So it's better to be part of this journey now rather than missing it out and get into these 5 years. If you have that risk appetite, that kind of a bold risk taking attitude, certainly this is the right time to get into. I think I must say we have invested last 3 years if somebody is getting into this now, right? Yeah.
You put it very well, Prasanna. I mean, each word there, and especially where you said that education, research, reading, all of that is very important at all aspects. But be aware, be ready for the volatility that this market really exhibits at this point in time. And I'm just going to take a leave and come to you with that, Abhinav. What are the do's and don'ts as per you when for making a strategy in cryptocurrencies here? I mean, as of now, we see a lot of influence coming from influencers and celebs and tweets and social media. Almost everything seems to be impacting the sector right now.
I think, of course, the first thing is to just stay clear of the noise, right? Whether that's on social media, influencers. I think there's that general. There should be an understanding that most of these are paid and they're not actually studied, or it's not based on facts. So I would urge most people to do their research. I think, and this is one of the I'd say it's a huge advantage when we compare crypto startups versus something outside of crypto. And I don't know if many people are not aware of this. One of the best things about a crypto project is everything about that project is transparent, right? Aside from you not being able to see that team, the day-to-day operations or the metrics that you would judge any business by are all essentially public to view, right? Whether that's how many transactions are happening on it, how many user wallets are being created daily, what kind of transaction volume. So all these numbers are available and free for anyone to see and study on the blockchain, right? So I think that's a great start. So that combined with understanding basics about like just general stocks, like things like I think a lot of people in India skip basic things in crypto, things like what is the fundamental token supply of that crypto, right? I think there is this notion, not just in India but across the world, people tend to gravitate towards tokens that are just really cheap in absolute value, right? They might be 1,000%, right? And so to a layman, it seems like, hey, I'm getting this at a really good deal. But I think what people need to understand is they need to see the other side of that story. How many tokens are actually there in issuance? And usually these projects are run in trillions and trillions of absolute units. And then once you do the math, you end up finding that that token that you're buying is actually not so cheap when you see the overall supply. So I think doing that fundamental analysis, studying those sectors, picking between those sectors, and once you come to that set between, that's when you can really delve into the actual underlying data on the blockchain. You can see what kind of traction, what kind of partnerships, how many users do they have, how much volume is being traded daily, how many new wallets are being created daily, how much are they transacting. And all of these are just basic metrics that you would look at even for a business that is not based on the blockchain, right? Except the difference would be you would need to get that report probably from the business, whereas in crypto, it's just available on chain. So I think you have all that on chain data available. You have all that token allocation metrics data available to you. What is the circulating supply? How much of these tokens are actually in the market? What kind of market capitalization does it have? And I think you could put all of these things together whilst keeping in that high level points of what is the expected return, what kind of time horizon are you investing in. And I think if you keep all of these things in mind, you should be a fairly good place to start with.
Well, yes, this is a global asset class. Most of data is available out there. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for this interesting conversation and a lot of valuable advice to people who want to make strategies now in case of cryptocurrencies. I'm sure they've heard that and will put use to that. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.